tonight, we shall first acquaint ourselves with the meaning of common law. Common law practice. We must know what it is before we go on to expose the ignorance of the Nigerian judiciary as encapsulated in the pitiable performance of Binta Nyako. Let us look at the definition and the meaning of common law. What is common law, I ask? Listen carefully. This is according to Wikipedia, not Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm sure they even said something as well. In law, that is common law, also known as judicial precedent or judge-made law or case law, is that body of law, listen carefully, derived from judicial decisions of courts and similar tribunals. That is why when you go to court, you will hear them recite or refer to a case between Abiodun and Commissioner of Police in Ogun State, determined by either Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. Common law is a precedent law. In other words, you are guided by the ruling of a superior court or court of concurrent jurisdiction on a particular case. Black's Law Dictionary 10th edition defined it. In fact, went ahead to differentiate between common law jurisdictions and civil law. This is where the in the zoo. Call a lawyer now and ask the lawyer. What do you practice in Nigeria? I will tell you, my brother, I don't know. They practice common law in Nigeria. But what Binta Nyako is doing is civil law, which is more like Sharia law, where if you're accused of any crime, you have to prove that you're not guilty. The burden of proof is not on the state. It's on you to prove you're not guilty. It is called civil law, not common law. Nigeria practices precedent law, common law. Understand the distinction between the two. Common law systems place great weight on court decisions, which are considered law, because once a court says anything, that thing becomes law, with the same force of law as statutes, as laws made by the National Assembly. Common law courts have the authority to make law where no legislative status exists. Where there is a vacuum, a judge can take a decision, a court can make a decision or decide in a judgment how things should be, and that becomes a reference point. By contrast, civil law jurisdiction, the judges in civil law courts, which is what Binta Nyako is trying to do, tend to give less weight to judicial precedent. They don't listen. Binta Nyako is in common law, but she's practicing civil law. The height of judicial ignorance, if there was one. Now that we have established that you have to go by precedent, let us look at common law in practice in Nigeria and determine if Binta Nyako is a judge presiding over common law or not. Let us look at a precedent case. This is in a case, Pam v. Mohammed 2008. Listen carefully, please. It's a case law. A judge, this is a judge ruling. His name is Toby. I'm sure some of you know Chief Justice Toby. He is a justice of the Supreme Court. Remember, you're practicing common law, which is precedent law. Anything Supreme Court says, Binta Nyako is bound by it. If you're following what I'm saying so far. Now, let me show you how evil Binta Nyako is, and the rest of the Nigerian judiciary tonight. But this, they even break their own law. They make law and they break. Even in the court of law, they are breaking it. This is what Toby said, Justice Toby, Justice of the Supreme Court. This is his ruling. In a case, Pam versus Mohammed, 2008, Supreme Court decision. A course list, which is the list of the cases in court, can be likened to an agenda of a meeting without any alliance. There is no alliance to it, which is called cognomen. It's a big, convoluted word. For other business, as a course list has no business. A course list is a course list. I proceed. The business of the court is exact. You don't change from it. This is Supreme Court speaking. The business of the court is exact and so exactly put in the list. The aim or objective of the list is to give notice in advance for some days in advance. You have this case coming up. No warning. This is Supreme Court saying you must warn the parties. Tell them what you're going to do in a court of law before you do it. Will Binta Nyako do it? The answer is no. Binta Nyako is running foul of Supreme Court decision. She's only an ordinary High Court judge, not appeal court. She is saying no to Supreme Court, doing anything she likes in her own court. We continue. This is the same case. A trial judge, listen, this is what Supreme Court said, what they're not telling their judges. A trial judge should follow the cost list in the sense that where a matter is set down in the cost list as a motion, it should not be heard on its merits. A cost list in English practice, a role of action to be tried in the order of their entry, with the names of the solicitor, that is, names of lawyers. For each litigant, a first name should have been written in the list in the court, saying on the 28th of March 2019, a case is coming up, and the barrister here leading that case is Ifeanyi Ejiofor. That's what the Supreme Court said. But did Binta Nyako do it? The answer is no. When a matter has been adjourned for a particular purpose, Supreme Court, it is my view, this is the view of Justice of the Supreme Court, Toby. It is my view that the business of the court on that day, the matter is adjourned, is the purpose for which it was adjourned, nothing more, nothing else. Since you said you have come to treat a Baribe's case, only a Baribe's case, not case of Nnamdi Kanu or bail revocation. That's what the law says, because this pronouncement by this Supreme Court justice is a law on its own. That's the meaning of common law, for those who do not know. The court cannot, it's saying here, the court cannot schedule any hearing without informing my lawyers. Never. That's Supreme Court ruling. But she won't listen. So does it mean, therefore means that Binta Nyako doesn't read Supreme Court judgments? That's what it means. Because by disregarding the decision of the Supreme Court in relation to ambush of counsel, she have decided that common law does not apply to her. This is the type of judges you have in Nigeria. The Nigerian government does not understand the constitution, neither does their judges either. They copy what is written by the white man, they add a few big words, big grammar, quote it with Sharia terrorist laws, and call it the Nigerian constitution. Even to carry it out, they cannot do it. When you hear big titles, one would think that they have something extraordinary upstairs. A judge, this, appeal court, chief justice, deputy chief justice, and what other nonsense they answer or call themselves. It's a very big pity that Britain put us together with this type of people. Another disturbing trend is the use of media to prejudice public opinion against IPOB before and during trial. Examples abound of media houses allowing themselves to be used as unwilling agents of persecution. Binta Nyako employs this method. Whenever any evidence emerges in her court that is likely to damage the government of Jibril, she will quickly impose a gagging order. Don't speak to the media. Nobody should speak to the media. But the day she revoked my bail, anybody can talk to the media. And she's a consistent judge, isn't she? This same media was used to give the misleading impression that those of us standing trial committed a triable offense when that is not the case. Binta Nyako's revocation of my bail without affording me the opportunity of fair hearing suggests her complicity in the vicious military operation that killed many of my men and nearly got me killed. A battalion of Nigerian Army with support from the Air Force, drawn from 4 regiments stationed across the East, should not have been sent to kill me because it is against their own constitution unless authorized by a court of law. The lethal military operation levied against my home and my person was so notorious that the whole world had notice of it. How come Binta Nyako is claiming she did not have judicial notice of it? When a case was brought before her court, citing the military invasion of my home and the death of 28 innocent citizens, the Nigerian Army was on record in Binta Nyako's court as having said that they were pursuing a truck laden with ammunition into my compound where the truck exploded. How then can you exonerate them for being in my compound when they admitted they were there? This laughable tale is in a sworn testimony before Binta Nyako. Do you know this ridiculous claim by the army was not given a mention in Binta Nyako's ruling? Even though the army admitted to being in my house, Binta Nyako did not find anything wrong with it. The Nigerian army, by their own admission and doubt of the Nigerian presidency, came to my house to kill me. How will any judge worth assault not take judicial notice of that? If I were dead by now, what would she say? Some of the idiots will write rest in peace, and that will be the end of it. This UG. I remain eternally grateful to my shorties for standing by me all through my travails, trials, and tribulations. It therefore smacks of judicial persecution for Binta Nyako to claim that my shorties have withdrawn their shortyship. It's a lie. A nation becomes an irredeemable zoo when even her judiciary joins in the persecution of citizens. Binta's bench warrant against me makes the judiciary in Nigeria complicit in the persecution that has been levied against IPOB since 2015. In March last year, a Continental Human Rights Court restrained the Nigerian army, the Nigerian government, from further persecution of IPOB family members, including my humble self. Till date, Nigerian government is yet to obey that very order. The bench warrant against me is merely academic. It will surely be ignored by an international legal and diplomatic order that has voiced its disapproval of what is happening to IPOB in Nigeria. We will now come to the crux of the matter this very evening. And I'm sure why some people are here. It is called the Principles of No Punishment Without Law. It is in the Nigerian Constitution, section 36. On page 24 of your Constitution of the zoo. Listen carefully what the Constitution of Nigeria says and why IPOB is right. Sometimes I say to people, when you have talking, ignore them, they know nothing, their brains are empty. I want to prove it tonight. Do you know that we have been right all along? IPOB has been right all along from day one. Everything we are doing is right. And I thank heavens that some of you have remained steadfast till this very day. Section 36 of the Zoo Constitution on page 24. Subject as otherwise provided by this Constitution, a person shall not be convicted of a criminal offense, listen carefully, unless that offense is defined and penalty therefore is prescribed in a written law. And in this subsection, a written law refers to an act of the National Assembly or a law of a state, any subsidiary legislation or instrument under the provision of a law. We continue. This section 36 of the Constitution, subsection 12, which some of you have and I want you to refer to it, prohibits, you know the meaning of the word prohibition. It stops Binta Nyako. It stops the Attorney General of the Zoo. It stops Jubril, Abakiyari, Dambanza, all the rest of them. It prohibits any trial. In other words, the Constitution of Nigeria prohibits my trial and that of my men, or conviction of anybody in the Nigerian court of an offense not written down. Now listen again, please. The offense they are charging me with is not written in law in Nigeria, because treasonable felony must have ingredients supporting it. When Buhari was arrested in 1985, when did Babangida overthrow? 85, wasn't it? Was it 85? When the dead Buhari, now decayed, rotten in a Saudi grave, when Buhari overthrew Shagari in 83 and was himself overthrown in 1985, he committed treasonable felony. Buhari committed treasonable felony. That is the broad definition of it. Then underneath, what did he do to commit it? he used soldiers and arms to overwhelm and overraw a sitting president who is Sheikh Shagari. Understand how the law works. Not when Yoruba media, you have people from you're dancing up and down like somebody in an one party who is simply drunk. Understand it. Reasonable felony must sit on something. What is that crime? In my own case, they call this secession. Bear that in mind, because I'm coming there very shortly. Reasonable felony is defined only under section 41. I asked my deputy and Amaka to distribute Nigerian criminal code. It's there, so you can see it tonight. That I should not be in court. Benjamin Madubugu should not be in court. Breton Ezeishi should not be in court. David Nwamwisi should not be in court. Chidebere Oludire should not be in court. No IPOB family member should be in any court in Nigeria because we have not committed any crime known to law. In fact, what we are doing is supported by Nigerian law. It is here, and I'll prove it to you tonight. I know it is very lengthy, this very program. After all, before I used to do 3 hours program at a stretch, so you must bear with me. You must listen to this. My contention tonight is that I have not committed any offense triable under Nigerian law. Binta Nyeko can attest to that. Because treasonable felony is defined only under section 41 of the criminal code, which you have. There are 4 definitions of treasonable felony, and none of the definitions mention secession or trying to carve out a nation from Nigeria as a crime. If you remember when I was arrested, Yoruba media went to market about my charges. Secession is a crime. People are so stupid. The mention of Biafra is a crime. Who told you that? If it is a crime, why is it not in the laws of in the penal code, criminal code of Nigeria? It's not there. Pursuing Biafra is not a crime in Nigeria. It is not there. Secession is not a crime. Self-determination is not a crime. What IPOB is doing is legal, it is correct, even before Nigerian courts. We must continue. Let me perfectly explain this. Nigerians, their courts, judges, and some legal practitioners are ignorant of this same constitution of Nigeria they derive their authority from. I am not doing this expose tonight in the hope that Nigerians will do anything about their plight. No. They are blacks, they won't do anything. From time immemorial, we don't do anything. I am doing it that humanity may know that we Biafrans are civilized, law-abiding people. IPOB is a civilized movement and law-abiding because we understand and respect the law, even the laws of Nigeria. Fulani in a billion years can never submit to the rule of law. Their judges are ignorant of the law. Therefore, those of you using the name of Nigeria, using the name of Biafra, I must say, to work for Fulani, encroachment into our land, or who think by turning to informants and agents of the caliphate, you can demoralize the weak amongst us, let me tell you this tonight. You are wasting your time. Create as many fake Facebook accounts as you like. Issue misleading press statements as much as you like. One thing is guaranteed. Unless you mention Nnamdi Kanu or IPOB, nobody will read anything you write or anything you say. That's how powerful we are. Now you understand it. That is the level of stranglehold we have over you. Unless you mention Nnamdi Kanu or IPOB, nobody wants to read what you're writing. That is power and might that we exercise over you. Unless you mention my name, you are nobody. If you like, try and see. Nigerians and their government does not understand their own laws. They copy and they paste. For us to further understand how hopeless Nigerian judges like Binta Nyeko are, let us do some research on the own constitution and what it says about Biafra agitation for freedom. Now I want to prove to you that agitation for Biafra is legal within Nigerian laws, not AU law, not laws from UN, Nigerian law, inside Nigeria itself. Their law says I can secede if I want. Then why am I in court? Because I'm in court because Binta Nyeko she doesn't read the constitution. She has never read the constitution of Nigeria. I'm not sure she has. And she's a judge. Let us proceed. Our focus is going to be on secession and write it down, secession and self-determination. To prove to even a mad person that Biafra, what IPOB is doing, her joy is not a crime. Even a mad person living under Ojuelegba Bridge will know tonight that IPOB, what we represent and what we are doing is not a crime. I know I should have treated this very issue separately. Maybe I will at a later date as well. But I want to use tonight to lay down for the world to know how inept, corrupt, and ignorant Nigerian churches and their courts are. This landmark broadcast tonight is of historical importance and significance. And I've asked my deputy to make sure that it is placed on various media platforms for reference purposes, because things can never be the same again. All of you have a copy of the Constitution which you've been looking at. If you amend the Constitution, everybody knows about it. We must bear in mind at all times the supremacy of the Constitution in all matters to do with the law in any country in the world. Chapter 6. Go to the criminal code that was circulated. Chapter 6, section 41 of the criminal code, which defined the offense of treasonable felony, for which I and others have been charged for conspiring to commit. This is what it says. You must do, for you to be charged with treasonable felony, you must do one or all of the following. And now, as I'm reading it out, think of IPOB and see if you committed any of these crimes. Now, any person who forms an intention to effect any of the following, that is to say, to remove during his term of office, otherwise than by constitutional means, the president as the head of state of the federation and commander-in-chief of the armed forces thereof. In other words, did I start IPOB to remove Buhari then from office, or was I doing it to create Biafra? I'm sure everyone knows the answer to that. Not to remove Buhari from office when he was alive, or to remove Jubril now, but to create Biafra. That's number one. Number two, to likewise remove during his term of office the governor of a state. Am I trying to remove any of the corrupt Awusa slaves, traitors we have in government houses, or am I trying to create Biafra? I wanted Okezi Azu removed through the ballot box, not by fighting the bagger. Of course, I know that the cabal will come to his rescue. It's been happening throughout history. It's nothing new to us. They will defend their informants anyway. They will defend the saboteurs in our land. They've done, after all, Oba Biasika came back after betraying Ojuku, after the war, to become the governor of his central state. So they have a history of rewarding saboteurs. It's not a big deal. C is to levy war. This is treasonable felony. To levy war against Nigeria in order by force or constraint to compel the president to change his measures or counsels, or in order to put any force or constraint upon, or in order to intimidate or overrule any house of the National Assembly or any other legislature or legislative authority. Is that what we are looking to do in IPOB? The answer is no. We just want to Biafra, a separate homeland for Biafran people, not to take over any house of assembly. Now, ask yourself this question. Those people that invaded National Assembly and ran away with the mace, are they being tried for treason? The answer is no. But the law here says they should be tried for treason. You know, it's zoo now. They don't know their own laws, do they? D says to instigate any foreigner. Motorcycle. Instigate which foreigner to come and fight which zoo. Is our interest not only in Biafra? From what we have read tonight, what the offense of treasonable felony means. Who in their right mind can accuse IPOB of having committed or planning to commit any of those? Now, on the basis of the above provisions which I've just defined, definitions which I've just read, preparation to secede, which is the ingredient, the catalyst, the trigger of all these things, they ask them, They said, okay, he wants to do this, okay, we understand. How was he preparing to do it? They said he wants to secede. That's what they said. And it's in my charge sheet, which everybody has it. Yoruba media, they have it, but they won't publish it anymore after tonight, I'm sure. They charged me with preparations to secede. This is how they intimidate our people. They say, oh, to secede is a crime. No, it is not. Upon this secession have I been charged for conspiracy to secede, but this offense is not captured under the 4 definitions as mentioned above. It is not. It is not part of the criminal code. Secession is not. So the offense as charged, the offense I am facing with my men is not known to any written law in Nigeria. That is why Binta Nyako doesn't want to hear the case of jurisdiction, because she has no right to hear the case, because the crimes you are being accused of does not exist in law. It's not written down. And the Constitution of Nigeria says if it is not written down, you cannot be tried for it. Now, do you see where they are running from the court? Do you understand? Now, is it not very clear to everybody that what I'm doing is legal? But I'm going to prove it even more tonight. The time now is approximately 7 minutes past 9 p.m. here. You must bear with me. We must finish this. Before, people used to ask me to stay on for 8-9 hours when we did the marathon broadcast. But tonight, we must finish this very broadcast. It's very, very critical. Listen carefully. The charge and my trial and that of my men is unconstitutional within the provisions of section 36 subsection 12 of the same Zoo Constitution, which says that subject as otherwise provided by the Constitution, a person shall not be convicted of a criminal offense unless that offense is defined and the penalty therefore is prescribed in a written law. And in this subsection, a written law refers to an act of the National Assembly or law of a state. I'm asking you, go anywhere and check. Did anybody say in Nigerian law that secession is a crime? Or that mentioning Biafra is a crime? You will see there is none. So a lot of people have been acting under ignorance, under a spell of ignorance before we came. That is why I said before, anywhere we go, we bring light to it. We are IPOB, the very best of the best. I said the very best. You're not getting an IPOB, you're a child of Lucifer. Nothing good shall ever come out of your life. I'm telling you the truth. Before heaven and this very earth. IPOB is, we are whiter than white and whiter than snow. That is why all their plans against me can never work. And they know it. Now we are going to look at the laws from which I derive my authority to run IPOB, from which I derive my authority to ask for secession and to carve out Biafra from Nigeria. I have Nigerian law by my side, and tonight we are going to look at it. Leonard, I'm telling you. The mistake that most Jews, and definitely Binta Nyako, make is to think that I am relying merely on UN Charter on the rights of the indigenous people or the African Charter on peoples and human rights. What they fail to understand is that I am relying on laws made by the National Assembly of Nigeria in 1983. Binta Nyako is trying me and my men in her court of law for doing something that the laws of Nigeria said that I should do. If I am oppressed, I should ask for self-determination. It's in the laws of Nigeria in 1983, enacted in Lagos by the National Assembly in Lagos. When it's not a crime written in law, why am I being tried? Why are my men being tried? Why is IPOB being persecuted for doing what the laws of Nigeria say should be done to any group of people who are oppressed? This is the written law of Nigeria. How can any judge, judiciary, justice system or state prosecutor seek to punish anybody for doing what the law says. Now you understand why Nigeria is a zoo, don't you? That brings to conclusion. I could have gone on, but I know that the attention span of most people in the zoo is very short. This is for us as well as our enemies as well. The army deployed the entire 4 divisions in Biafra land, from Obinze, 82 division in Enugu, Ohafia, Asa, Ovim, plus aerial support to come and dance pattern dance in my house and kill people. But they never deployed up to 1 brigade against Fulani headsmen that are killing people. That is Nigeria for you. That is their judiciary for you. That is evil for you. I ask you to reflect, to ponder and think through this very gospel tonight, and for you to know that everything IPOB is doing is legal. There is nothing to be afraid of. And we are not afraid, because Biafra will come. And then this will form part of the story we'll tell our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, that the world may know that at one point in time there was this group of people ordained by Elohim to bring light to Africa. For decades that light was dimmed but not extinguished. And through IPOB, that light shone very brightly once again and guided the children of Elohim to the promised land. And that land is Biafra. I thank you all for listening. And until next time, from me, from here,